Dale Jr., if you're listening to the Dale Jr. download, he had a special live podcast in Nashville last
We
weekend.
want to go cup racing. We just can't afford the fucking charter.
If you guys knew how much time and shit Kelly's been doing, as my dog opens the door, y'all would understand how hard it is to get this deal done, because we want to go cup racing. So having that said, do you think Dale Jr. and Junior Motorsports will go cup racing in the next 3 years?
I think they'll race a race next year. I don't know if they won't have
chartered.
They won't have a charter next year.
Daytona 500.
They'll race. They'll have. I think they will put a car on track within the next year or two. Who it is, where it is, I don't know. Whether that be Josh Berry, I don't know if Junior jumps in the car.
Jimmy Johnson. Jeff Gordon. I love that shit.
You never know. There's some guys out there that Justin Allgaier, he's never really got his shot in the Cup Series. Noah Gragson. But I think if they could buy a Rick Rare charter today, they would be a full-time Cup team next year. And they've said as much themselves. And I think it would be better for the sport if they had a charter right now to go Cup racing next year. I think it'd be good for the sport. I think Josh Berry would be the perfect guy to put in a car, personally, him or Noah Gragson. I don't like Noah Gragson, but he'd be a good addition to the Cup scene. I think Josh Berry would be a good addition. I think, as they said on the Dale Jr. download this week, talking to Justin Marks, those, adding a Cup team to the series is important. So, adding just some fucking Joe Blow with money right now wouldn't really help the series at all. But, a name like Earnhardt being in the Cup Series, that's name value. That's important to the Cup Series. That's important to bring new and old fans together, bring people back into the sport. I think it is a necessity that an Earnhardt is in the Cup Series. It's one of those names that just is, it has to be there. And I think that the sooner that they can figure out how to make it happen, the better for NASCAR that it will be, even though they're a Chevy team and I won't root for them.
Yeah, I agree. Dale Jr. is such a big name in the sport. It would bring back some of his fans that has stopped watching when he retired. And that's why the viewership in NASCAR and the popularity of NASCAR has it declined for the first year or two, but it's starting to even out now. But it still wasn't nearly what it was even Dale's last year when he was struggling like hell in 2017. So you get his own team back in the sport in the Cup Series. I think you could get some of those fans back just for them to have somebody to cheer for, just for a team owner-wise. The thing that Justin Marks said is, like you kind of said, it's got to make sense. Like, it has to make sense because the owners have to come to agreement that this makes sense for the sport, for a new team to come in the sport, because it's going to cost them money if you get more charters, which is what it might have to come down to. You might have to get an extra charter or two from NASCAR, and guess where that money's coming out of?
Everybody
else's pockets. So if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be Dale Jr. and Junior Motorsports, because it's Dale Jr. I mean, he's a big name.
He is the most important person in NASCAR.
Yes, he is. And for him to have his own team in the Cup Series again, I mean, I know DEI, he was kind of, I mean, you hear all that shit that went on at DEI back in the day. After Dale Sr. died, it's a mess, but DEI still was a very popular team up until they had to, sell house. Yeah, merge with Ganassi and pretty much end it. And especially when Dale Jr. left, it was finitoed. Excuse me, but if anybody's going to do it, I think it's Dale Jr. Will it happen next year? No. Maybe 2 years from now. I could see NASCAR opening up getting a charter for 37 38 maybe if you want to get 2-car teams. Hendrick, I know Rick Hendrick will help him out with the motors and all that shit because that's what he does for the Xfinity team or for Dale's Xfinity team. So he would have the resources to do it. It's just about if the other NASCAR owners want Dale Jr. in this Cup Series, and I don't see why they wouldn't, other than just it'd be another competitive ride that could take their teams away from winning races and taking money out of their pockets, because it's got to fall somewhere.
Well, here's the issue, and this is my problem with the charter system, is if...
Oh, I hate it. I hate it.
I understand it, because in no other sport, in every other professional sport, you are pretty much guaranteed your money. You're a franchise in the NFL. If I can't just bring a fucking NFL team any given Sunday into fucking Bank of America Stadium and play up against the fucking Carolina Panthers. I can't just bring a fucking baseball team into Atlanta and play the Braves. But in NASCAR, you used to be able to just show up and run. And, you weren't guaranteed money. Fucking if Jeff Gordon didn't show up and he didn't have a fast enough car, he didn't race. And...
Well, there were some exceptions.
There were
to
some
that,
exceptions.
like in points.
Yeah.
Points,
but, you only had a couple. A couple like, hey, bring a better car next week. You only had a couple.
Yeah, had some for the older guys, the champion divisionals,
but,
shit like that.
Now in NASCAR, it's if you're in the top 35 in points, or you've got a charter, that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
But if you've got a charter, you're gonna make the race. That's why the Rick Ware cars are there every week, because they're guaranteed money.
Yeah, you don't think if Collie brought out a couple more cars and Junior Motorsports brought out a Cup car,
they'd outrun the
they
fucking
would outrun the
Rick Ware cars.
Yeah, they would.
They would.
Rick Ware wouldn't stand a chance.
But Rick Ware is guaranteed money, and the 16 car that AJ Allmendinger's running, if they weren't guaranteed money, they wouldn't show up. They're outrunning those fucking, other than this week with Joey Hand, but even then they outran them. These cars that are not chartered are not guaranteed money. They're pretty much losing money coming to the racetrack. They make a little bit, but it's not a ton.
No.
But back in the day,
it's not worth the risk. To be honest with you,
back in the day, you would make money coming to the racetrack. Even if you start and parked, you'd make money if you didn't have a charter, which there weren't any. But I think it would be better for the sport if Junior could show up to the racetrack with a car and qualify for the race and go out there and run, even if he ran 20th.
What would his car number be? That'd be a tough one.
88.
8. They could do 88.
88's the only one that'd be available. 3's gone. 8's gone.
2's gone.
2's gone. 88's the only one that'd be available.
Yeah. 1's gone.
Yeah, 9.
9's gone. Yeah, that'd be 88.
9 ain't gone.
Or
Who the fuck's running 9?
Chase Elliott.
Oh, fuck. You're right. For some reason, I felt like he's running a 24.
No. You could do the 81.
You can do that.
He ran a few. He ran a few races in the Xfinity Series of that.
Yeah, but I just forgot about Chase Elliott there for a minute. But no.
How could you forget about
fuck
the
that
GOAT,
guy,
man?
But yeah, I mean, Dale Earnhardt needs to be in the sport. I think they need to do away with the charter system. As a fan, as a team owner, I understand.
Sense. Yeah, it makes the team owners more money.
Yeah, for sure. I understand it. They're treating themselves like sports franchises, which is essentially what they are. But
I will say though, they don't need these big team owners. Really don't need any more money. It's the other teams that are trying to get going, like Junior Motorsports. If we've seen a couple. Smaller teams getting the Cup Series. Colleague, GMS. 2311 was built, from Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan's got more money than God. So, if you take away the charter system, it would open up the possibility for more new teams to come into the sport, which back in the day, everybody was trying to get into NASCAR. Back when the heyday, mid-2000s, you had freaking, 50 cars showing up every week?
Mm-hmm.
when it was popping. It ain't popping no more. So if you get rid of the charter system, I think it'll give more opportunity to more
That's
people.
the problem is they don't want it popping. They want it like the NFL. You got 32 teams in the NFL.
Well,
they want
I know,
36 teams in NASCAR.
I know.
That's what they want.
I know. I understand.
They don't want 50 teams. They want
like
36.
It's like Formula One and all that shit. You know, Formula One's got 22 teams. Is it 22?
They got 11 teams.
Well, 22 cars.
Yes. And that's what races every week.
Yeah, 22 cars, right?
You can't show up.
Yeah.
You can't bring your own Formula One car to the Formula One race.
Yeah.
You got to be approved.
Which NASCAR, I've always liked about that with NASCAR back in the day. It was always different.
Bring your shit to the track.
Bring
See
your
who's got
shit.
the fastest shit.
Yeah, that's how NASCAR was born. And I wish I'd go back to something like that. But at the end of the day, I don't think it'll ever happen. But I do think in a couple years, 3 years maybe, Junior Motorsports will get into the Cup Series. It makes too much sense not to. It does.
He'll be there.
He'll be there.
NASCAR will figure out a way, whether they're buying a Rick Ware charter or if they're creating
you can buy
another
Aspire.
charter.
I mean, it's going to take a couple more years for this next gen car to see how much it's cut costs. Because Justin Mark said something very interesting on the podcast.
It costs exactly
He said
the same.
it costs the exact same as the old car, at least in this first year, because of what did he say? All the
Well, here's the thing: is it doesn't matter how much the car costs. If the car's cheaper, they're going to spend money somewhere else.
that's what he said.
That's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
That's how, if you have the money to spend, you are going to spend it. Whether that's in making your car faster, whether that's marketing your team, whether that's putting it into simulator work. Because Brad Keselowski said that shit. All this practice that we're not doing, well, guess what? That money to spend on fuel, tires, cars, crew teams, whatever it is, all this money that we were spending on that for 3 practices a weekend, guess what? We're not saving that. We're not pocketing that money. It's going into our simulators. So they're spending the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can cut costs all you want. You're just going to spend it somewhere else. So,
It's like the I remember all this off of the Office is how I like to go by this. There was an episode where the accountants were doing their end of year sales and all that shit. They're doing their cost of how much it cost everything throughout the office and all the shit that they'd spent throughout the year. And the surplus, they were given a certain amount. It was like $4,000 and something. But they only spent like it was like 4 or 5 is what the surplus was given. But they only spent $4,100. So you had $400 extra there. But if you do not use that money, guess what? They're not going to give you $4,100 for the next year because they think that's how much it costs to have everything run in the office smoothly. So you spend that money to make sure they continue to give you that much money for the next year. That's how I like to think about it in NASCAR. The charter system and all that stuff. If you don't spend that money, they're going to think other teams don't need that money. And then guess what? You're getting less calls or less money to be using towards your resources for your own team.
For sure.
I'm out of breath.
Yeah. Well, last thing to say on that, Dale Jr. needs to be in the Cup Series. Hopefully, it will be sooner rather than later.
What's up, Highline Nation? Did you enjoy that video? Well, make sure to subscribe to this channel. And if you want the full version of each episode, download the Spotify app and find the Highline and give us a follow. As well as follow us on Instagram for more behind-the-scenes content. Stop beating around the bush.